Hi everyone and welcome back to another mkdev video. What we're going to see today is something fascinating. We are going to connect our Kubernetes cluster with AWS, creating automatically an application load balancer as soon as we create an ingress object in our EKS cluster. But what is that? In our EKS cluster, we're working inside a VPC. In our case, we have 6 subnets, 3 private and 3 public. When we create a service, normally this is inside our private subnet. So how we are going to be able to go inside this service if everything is in the private subnet and we want to go, for example, from the public? As you can see here, what we are going to do is create an LBL, application load balancer, connected to a target group. This target group is the connection between the service and the port in our Kubernetes cluster and the outside world, and with the application load balancer. But how we can create those components? How is this magic working? If you remember in our previous video about EKS Fargate, we create our cluster with a simple command, EKS create. As soon as we do that, we can create easily a Kubernetes deployment. To do that, simply we need a deployment YAML file and execute kubectl apply -f deployment. Now we create our service to point to the port that application is opening in the pod. To do that, as before, kubectl apply -f service. After those steps are done, we need to start to work. First, we create an association between the AIM and the cluster. EKS utils associate AIM OICD provider -- cluster pathfinder -- approve. Now we are going to download from Kubernetes GitHub repository the AIM policy that we need to create our policy. We can do with wget, as you can see here in the screen, that we will apply with AWS AIM create policy command. As you can see in the screen, AWS AIM create policy -- policy name and the name of the policy. Policy document with the document that we downloaded before. The next step is to create our cluster role and the cluster role binding with the YAML file that you have inside the screen, executing kubectl apply YAML file. This command, what it's going to do is going to create a role and it's going to associate the role. Next step, we are going to use AWS STS get caller identity to get a caller. And after that, with EKS, we are going to create the service account, EKS create AIM service account. And the last step to create the magic controller is the ALB Ingress Controller. As you can see in the YAML file code that this is a deployment, this deployment is going to create a pod in the namespace kube system called ALB Ingress Controller. So as soon as we deploy that, if we execute kubectl get pods -n kube system, we can see that there is an ALB Ingress Controller in our screen. And this is the door of our logs. Here we can do things like, for example, kubectl logs pods. But if you execute kubectl logs pods and the pod ALB Ingress Controller, you are going to see all the info. The tricky part is that you need to remember that you need to do with -n kube system to get the namespace where is the pod located. And then as soon as you have a problem, always go here. And now the magic trick is here. We need to create our ingress object in our Kubernetes cluster. As you can see on the screen, this is what we are going to execute, and this is the trick is in the annotation. We have kubernetes.io/ingress class ALB to indicate that we are going to use the application load balancer and not the classic load balancer. We have an ALB ingress kubernetes.io target type with IP because we are going to use Fargate. But in case that you're not using Fargate, you can change and choose instance. There is another metadata called ALB ingress kubernetes.io scheme, where we can choose between the internet facing or internal, and those will be the subnet that we will use. Other points are the health check port, listen port, and health check path that will be used to create the target group. After that, the spec part that this is what we need in Kubernetes to create the Ingress object, and that will be connected to the AWS ALB. And now if we go to our AWS account in EC2 and we choose load balancer, we will see that there is a new load balancer with a listener pointing to a target group. If we go to View, Edit Rules, and we click on the target group, we can see how the target is connected with the endpoint that it was created in Kubernetes service and how it's listening. Wow, amazing, eh? Now even we can go back to the load balancer and use the same URL that is providing to us to connect to our application. I love the magic. Today, we have seen how AWS is connected magically with ALB. Next week, we will move ahead of Amazon and we will go to see GCP, something magic too, Cloud Run. Thank you for your time and I hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time.